This week in our lesson, we go over storage quite a bit, and a couple of things I want to do real quick is talk about the many options. And if I go to the Chrome console and I go to More Tools and I go to Developer Tools, and we go to an application, and we see an abundance of opportunities here. There's Manifest for the now deprecated Manifest cache, where we can actually cache elements of a web page. There's Service Workers, where we can cache things both internally and externally. And there's a way we can clear all storage, which is sort of new to Chrome. But of all these opportunities here, cache storage, application cache, what we have here is several opportunities. We have these little circles which indicate a heavy database, a relational database. And then we have session and local storage, and of course cookies. Now the thing is that cookies can be basically blocked. You can turn them off. So that in 2017 is not really an answer anymore. We have WebSQL, which goes off of SQLite. So if you're familiar with SQL and SQL queries, this is a good one. But this is also being removed in the next releases of from the W3. There's also IndexedDB, which is kind of neat. That's a relational database that's more of an object store. It's very similar to Core Data or Mongo or one of those object stores where you actually create a document object to store your data. If you don't know that, we go over it pretty heavily in JavaScript 1 in this program. That's for heavy stuff. But these two bad boys are great for what we need right now. Local storage, which can handle up to 4 megabytes of data, is fantastic. And session storage is nice as well because you can use it just for the duration of when the user's operating his system. And once you close the browser, that session ends. So it's very straightforward too. I won't say that about IndexedDB or WebSQL. Those are a little more complicated. But in local storage, it's as simple as finding the type of storage you want and spelling it right, of course. But there's a set and a get. So if you've done Java before with setters and getters, this should make sense to you. But I can say something like user, and then I could pass Chris. So if I do this and I hit refresh a couple times here, and I go to the session, I see user and Chris. Now only my script and my domain can read that session. It's very much like cookies used to be, if you're familiar with that. So that's great. I can put whatever I want here, but it's got to be a string. But you'll see people put stringified JSON into their session storages. So that's great. So how do we get it? Well, because these are key value pairs, all I would need to do is do something like alert, and then session storage, and dot, oops, not a string, excuse me, get item, and then I'd put user here, like that. So if I do that and I close my braces the way I should, I would get an alert in Chris. So the best thing about this too is it's consistent. Instead of session storage, if you wanted persistent storage, you could use local storage. So here I am, and I can do the same thing. I can set that, and now my local storage should have Chris and user, which is great. So think about this. You can store anything if it's stringed, which means you can store an array, you can store an object inside this value, and then still retain it for later. So that's session storage and local storage.